Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So we move on to day two. We've just actually had the first race of the Cheltenham Festival, the Supreme Novice. How easy was that for Kopek to board? And to be honest, I thought it was terrible rides from a couple of them. They completely set it up for Kopek to board. Work ahead, going off way too fast under Rachel Blackmore. Thought that was a terrible ride. Romeo Coolio, on the basis they were going so fast, was then going to end up in front too soon, which is what's happened to him. And Kopek de Boer's tracked them through and gone, yeah, well, now I'll go at the second last. Very, very strange rides from a couple of good jockeys. Jockeys seem to have in their head one way of going. You know, they have a plan and they stick to that plan regardless of what happens. Yeah, I thought it was Kopek de Boer probably is the best horse in the race. You know, it's always frustrating for us when we've got Work Ahead, who beat William Money by 7 lengths, and William Money ends up finishing second in that race because it was given a much better ride than Work Ahead this time. But yeah, just at least make Willie Mullins' hot pots work for it by doing something and actually not just setting it up for him and them. Anyway. Moving on to tomorrow, the Turner's Novices Hurdle. We start with the 2 mile 5 Grade 1. Very happy with our selection in this race, the New Lion. We're on at a bigger price than that. I think we've got 4s about the New Lion. I still think that's top quality form. Yes, Mullins' horses are going to all be backed, especially if he goes and gets a few winners today. He's already had the one. If you were new to this and you hadn't had a bet in the race, I still probably think the New Lion is worth a go. You know, you'd be backing one of the front two. I feel it's out of those two. One of those two is probably going to be, or potentially both, very, very good horses. You know, top class, future multiple Grade 1 winners. Whereas the Yellow Clay and Potter's Charm, I kind of feel can win their own races. They can win Grade 2s and they can win Grade 1s when nothing else turns up. But as soon as they end up in a feature one, a proper Grade 1 where everything's running, they will be found out. So I still like the New Lion. I think he's the one to beat personally, and I'm hoping that the Skeltons really do have a absolute machine there with the New Lion. Moving on to the second race, the Brown Advisory, and I would not be taking on Willie Mullins here either, or I wouldn't be taking on Willie Mullins this time, and I've just had that. Let me just sort that out. Mahaha, odds checker, you can't keep that. Just run it in incognito. If you're having problems with the odds checker trying to get you to pay to see the odds, yeah, run it in incognito and you can then get to the odds again. I said a few times now that I thought Ballyburn I was surprised that it was odds against. It's now odds on, and yeah, totally believe that Ballyburn's going to take all of the beating there. It's one of those for those multiples. If you've still got the potential, you know, if you did have time, you might not after watching this video. Majborough may have already run. Something later on in the week, Galopin de Champ maybe. I just think Ballyburn I think he's very, very good, and I think he's good enough to win this. I don't have Dancing City right up there in my opinion. I don't have any of the others right up there as being multiple Grade 1 winners of the future. Ballyburn, once he goes out of Novice Company, I do believe he's good enough to win races outside of Novice Company as well. So yeah, fairly boring selection in the second one. Spoken about him multiple times. Let's move on to the 240, where there is a massive gamble, isn't there, on Bunting for the Mullins and Townend team. Now, I was interested. Oh, they've got me again. I was interested in Bunting for the County Hurdle, not for the Coral Cup. And I'm happy to take him on in the Coral Cup, to be honest. I don't know whether the extra trip is really going to suit Bunting. We are already on Be Aware, who we do like. The Step Up and Trip should definitely suit. It's all about if they can get him to settle. Stick him in mid-division. You don't need to do anything. Stick him in mid-division, and I think he will run a really nice race. And they can give him a very similar ride to how they've ridden Langer Down the last couple of years. If they do that, I think Be Aware is the one to beat. Our second selection in this race, we are going to add one to this as well. Our second selection is a big price in Might Eye. I'm quite keen on Might Eye, to be honest, and I know the Harry Fry's other horses being really well supported beat the bat, but I'm hoping that Might Eye might be... I don't think there's a lot between them. Might Eye gets the assistance of Sean Bowen, which I'm more than happy with. 3 runs ago at Bangor, dropped down to a mark of 135 and got his head back in front. Beating Aston Martini, who we like, West of the Bridge, who's come out and won since. On Publique's done well, Della Casalunga's done well, Zipco was 8th, done well. In actual fact, Zipco is rated 123, or was rated 123 that day. Might Eye was rated 135. Now Might Eye gets to run here off a mark of 137, so he's up 2. The horse who was 8th, Zipco, is up £8, and yet Zipco is a shorter price and being well supported. I don't think there's any negatives about Might Eye. He does have some Cheltenham form to his name. He finished 4th in a Martin Pipe a couple of years ago, off a mark of 145. He only runs here off 137, so he's £8 lower than that. He ran in this race last year off 142, so £5 higher mark. He was only 14 to 1 that day. He's 40s today, or tomorrow, sorry. He's 40s, and he ran okay for a long way, and actually ended up in the wrong part of the track. And I want them to stick down the inside and then actually come out wide when they get into the straight. Don't stay down the inside, which they did last year, and it didn't work. I don't mind Might Eye at all, to be honest. I think he's got a good chance in this race if he can be quietly ridden and brought into it late on, weaving through horses. Last time out, Kieran O'Shea gave him an absolute shocker. The time before that, he didn't stay the 3-mile trip at Cheltenham, but he's got some good Cheltenham form over 2.5, and I'm really hopeful of a big run here from Might Eye. And the third horse that we are going to add, we kind of have to, in that we backed him for the Pertemps Final. We've got our money back because he's not running there. It's Zipco. Now, Zipco, I thought, was being carefully ridden the last couple of times to get him qualified for the Pertemps Final. Maybe it's that he doesn't stay that 3-mile trip. However, back over 2.5, he certainly does stay that trip. And he was a very impressive winner for us earlier on in the season when he beat Mr. Hope Street and Mr. Bramley. Now, the third horse, Mr. Bramley, we've backed to the last twice. He's come out and won and finished 2nd. And I think that's really strong form. And that 2.5-mile trip could well be the key to Zipco. And we've got to remember, as I said a couple of years ago, he went off, or was going to go off, really short price favourite for the Fred Winter. And they ended up running in the Triumph. And then they went to aim for another Grade 1 as a juvenile. They really rate this horse. He's probably finally got his act together this season and maybe just hasn't quite been getting home over that 3-mile trip. Over this 2-mile 5, his win came at Newbury, which is a course I really like for Newbury to Cheltenham. Yeah, I understand why he's now being well supported. He's currently available at 20s, and I want to add him to our selections on the basis that it'd be even more gutting if we didn't back him, having backed him in the Pertemps Final and he come out and won this. So they are our 3 for the Coral Cup now. Cross country, yeah, sticking with our selection in this, Mr. Coffee. I think he will run a really nice race here. I think he's been ridden to learn how to run these tracks the last twice. Finished 2nd behind Sweet David on his first run, given a lot to do that day, right out the back, finished really strongly. Now, Sweet David, I think, would be favourite in this race if he was running. And then, to be fair, last time out he was 2nd to Stumptown, beaten a length, when again I feel that Mr. Coffee was given a ride of, let's just make sure he learns how to run, he's back enjoying it, we're going to be going for it at Cheltenham. On that day, there was £9 between them. There is now 14. He's £5 better off with Stumptown. Stumptown is the favourite at 3s, and Mr. Coffee is still a bigger price at 15-2 now. We've got a bigger price than that. I wouldn't be against, if you haven't backed Mr. Coffee, back him now. I think he's going to run a really nice race there, and yeah, he's better off at the weights with the favourite, and I feel that he's been given rides of, let's make sure we know how to get round and we can really go for it at the Cheltenham Festival. So I'm sticking with that in the cross country. No changes there, or no extra horses there. We never change a selection. You might want to add a bet if you find one later on. Champion Chase. Do you know what? Don't understand personally why John Bon is 10-11. Not why is he 10-11? It's too short. Why is he 10-11? Why is he not 1-2? I can't be backing Marine Nationale. I cannot have a horse who is 1 from 5 over fences. 1 from 5. He's been beaten on his last 4 occasions over fences. How can you be suggesting that that could win a Queen Mother? Energumene got beat by John Bon last time out, and got beat comfortably by John Bon at Ascot. He's 11. John Bon's only 9. Energumene's probably on his way down. And the others I just really don't believe are good enough. I don't think Solness's form actually stacks up. Although he won last time out beating Marine Nationale. As I said, I don't feel that that's good enough form personally. And the time before that he beat Gaelic Warrior, who's not turned up at the Cheltenham Festival. When he did take on John Bon, he was beaten 25 lengths at Sandown in a Tingle Creek. I kind of feel that's the right level. John Bon should be 1-2 for this. Just going back to a race earlier, you could easily put John Bon in with Ballyburn, to be honest. I think both of them win, and I think they both win quite comfortably. Moving on to the 440, the Grand Annual, where we have 2 in this race. We are on My Mate Mozzie and Jazzy Matty. Now, I was worried that Jazzy Matty actually wasn't going to get in. He's got in comfortably in the end. I feel this has been a bit of a plot for the former Fred Winter winner. He won the Fred Winter off 125. He gets to run here off 135. Now, last time out he ran over hurdles. The time before that he was second to Path de Rue. I think that's really strong form, especially as on that day he was giving £8 to Path de Rue and got beat by a head. Now, Path de Rue was rated 144, Jazzy Matty was rated 133, so he was actually £19 wrong, and he got beat by a head. And he somehow, even looking at that, the English handicap has gone, well, just £2 extra. I think he should be 140, Jazzy Matty, to be honest. I think they, when they ran at Cheltenham and he did so well there, they went, wow, we've got a horse that's very well handicapped. How do we keep him well handicapped? Easy. Run him in a hurdle race. I think the handicap has missed one there. Our second selection in that race is My Mate Mozzie. We've been a fan of My Mate Mozzie for quite a few years now. Hadn't run for a little while, having been campaigned on the flat last year. His third in a Galway hurdle was good, and then he made his return at Leopardstown over fences. When I was watching the race, I'm like, wow, I'm looking out for My Mate Mozzie for Cheltenham, on, you know, that he's going to be really eye-catching here, and he was. And then he got himself too eye-catching. He got too close towards the finish, and then eventually just slowed up again after the last. Probably he'd done too much from like 2 out or 3 out to the last, because he'd made so much ground. I thought they were going to pull him up at one stage. He was that far behind, and then he absolutely flew into contention before getting tired again. Not unexpected, having been off for 125 days, and I'm pretty confident that this was the plan, coming back to Cheltenham, and not the race at Leopardstown last time out. So, more than happy with our 2 in the Grand Annual. Won't be adding anything else in there. And finally, we move on to the Cheltenham bumper. We are going to have a selection in the bumper. It's not going to be a confident one at all, to be honest. I think... I know they really like Coco Cabana, the Willie Mullins team. Patrick's on board. Paul's on Game of Inches. I'm going to take him on with the Gordon Elliott horse, Calypso Chance. I think his form is very good. He was winning the right races. A very good winner last time out, beating Heads Up and Classical Creek. I don't think he's done anything wrong, and I think he sets the standard. The others are they that good? Whereas I think Calypso Chance, we know he's that good. Can the others improve past him? I don't know. I'm not so sure. So I am having a go on Calypso Chance, who is now actually being well supported. You can currently get 5-1 about Calypso Chance. So they're my selections for Wednesday. A very quick recap. In the 120, we're still on the New Lion. We do like his performances, and we hope he can beat Final Demand. In the 2 o'clock, Ballyburn, I think, takes all of the beating. In the Coral Cup, we've already got Might I and Be Aware, and I'm adding Gypco into it now. We backed him for the Pertemps Final. It would be gutting if he then went and won the Coral Cup. Potentially, this trip might suit him even more than the 3-mile trip. Cross country, I think Mr. Coffey's been ridden to learn how to ride those and race those cross country courses, and now he's going to be trying flat out. He's actually better off at the weights with the favourite as well, Stumptown, who only beat him a length last time. Queen Mother Champion Chase, I think John Bond wins this comfortably. I'm surprised he's as big as he is. I would have him nearly 1-2, to be honest. The second favourite is just 1 from 5 over fences. That cannot win a champion chase. In the Grand Annual, we like Jazzy Matty and My Mate Mozzie. Both are relatively short now, but I think both have massive chances. And finally, we've just had one in the bumper, Calypso Chance for Gordon Elliott and Jack Kennedy.